Welcome to this presentation about BC X-Ray, the smart changelog tool for Business Central. I believe in this place you will already know the standard changelog, so I will not show that one, but I will just show the new smart features which now is available in this extension. If you, for example, go to a customer, and let's take this customer, and you would like to know, for example, what's going on. It could be, for example, that you have some concern about the payment terms, which is not your standard terms. Maybe they are, for example, 10 days or 30 days, and this is not your default. So you would like to know what's going on. In standard Business Central, it's pretty hard to figure that out. But with this tool, you just click one button, Alt-C, and for the benefit here, I will just show where I click. I will click here on the changelog entry, Alt-C. From now on, I will not show it from the menu. I will just press the button. So when I click here, I will be able to see all the changes that has happened to this client. And I can see all the changes, but right now I just want to focus on the payment terms. So I can filter, of course, this value. I can see all the values which are all the times it has been changed. First of all, I'll be able to see in the right side here how many times it has been changed. So I can see that the payment terms has been changed 8 times here altogether. I can also see who has changed the payment terms. So I can see that here it's like MN and SB and then again MN and tool for BC. Maybe I want to have a quick overview of the changes. So what I can do, I can click on the action and say trace. So by doing the trace, it will mark the current value as green and the previous value as red. So I can see this current value, it actually had this value also back on the 29th of January. And of course, I can see that the default was 1 month, 8 days, and then it was changed to 21 days, and it has then come back to 21 days again. Question, of course, obviously will be for number 1, who changed it? We can see it MN. When it was changed, we can see the date. And maybe we also want to know why was it changed? Now from 2 days to 21 days, or maybe from actually 30 days to 2 days. Could be more interesting because that's also a strange change. So now we have the field reason code. I can click on that one and be able to see here that they are not paying as agreed, so I cut the credit line. All right. So why is it then changed back again? And let's check the reason here. So we can see agreed with the credit department. So apparently they must have talked to the customer, so I have to talk to them what happened since it was changed back to 21 days. All right. So that was to show you the filter here as well. Let me just close the page again and reopen it again. I can also see the field blocked was changed, of course, and also, for example, credit line, the credit limit was changed here as well. But let's have a look at the fact box in the right side. First of all, let's say there's a change here which is not really visible to you. It could be because the changelog was not activated at the point of time. So you can see here the history of the changelog. So you can see here it was activated first time on the 21st of January. So if there was any change made to this customer before that date, obviously they will not be listed here on this changelog. Second thing is I can see somebody actually have deactivated it here and had it deactivated for, now it was only 1 minute, could have been a longer period of time, but in that time frame, of course, changes will also not have been captured. Next thing I can see how, let's say there's a change here, maybe it's not visible here. What is the setup? Because it could be, for example, there's no log and inserts, but we can see it on all fields. Or modifications could also be maybe not activated, only some fields. It's also all fields and deletion as well. If I want to change that, I can go to the setup straight away here. And it's here. So if I want to change something, I can just go and change it to some fields or don't want to track anything. And straight away when I go back, it will be updated here as well. It could also be that the main changelog was activated, but it was actually not activated on this table. So I can check the history here. When was it actually activated? So you can see on this date, it was actually set to all fields. Then it was changed to some fields, and you can see that the insert was removed from all fields and then back to some fields, stuff like that. So the whole history you also have on this setup here. All right. Next thing is that the fields you're seeing here, you might be concerning that you don't see all fields, and that's actually correct. There's been set a global filter here. So that global filter will actually hide some fields. Usually we'll hide them because they should not be visible to the main user, because they are maybe confidential or maybe because they are not important and actually confusing the user. So you will be able to go here and say clear the filter if you are a user like that. So you can say clear my global filter, and now you will see all the one marked as red here, they are coming from the global filter. For example, this payment terms ID will most likely not bring much value to the main users at most point of time, so it's hidden. The same comes like last date modified, last date time modified. So why should we show that to the user? It's just confusing the whole picture. So they are hidden. So I can go back here and reset that filter, and now it's back to adding that filter. If I for some reason want to change, I want to know what is actually hidden, I can also click here and I can see what are now the filters that's been applied at this moment. I have one global, means there's no username here. And if I want to check, first of all, I can see it's active, so I can actually deactivate it if I don't want that for some reason. So if I go back, have a look again, change log, they will be now shown. If I want to activate it again, I go back, activate. I can now click the reset, and actually not, because I didn't have it activated, so I'll go back and open again, and it's gone again. I could also click here if I want to see what are the fields, and if for some reason I don't want the field, I could say, okay, this one I would like to show again. Maybe there's fields which was not on this list I would like to add. Then I can click show all, and I can go back and I can say, if there's any change to, for example, it could be last statement number, for example, it don't make sense to show that. Why don't we just hide it? Or invoice copies, we also don't want for some reason. So just remove that from the change log from the regular users. If I'm okay with the changes, I can just click OK. Or if I just want to show that as an example, like now, I just click cancel and go back, and this change has not been saved. I can also see my user. I don't have any local filters yet, but I could do that. So let's say I go back, and when will you use that? It could be, for example, let's say, for example, I have nothing to do with the payment terms because I'm in the shipment department. So I could then click on this, hide this field, payment terms. I'm not keying. Credit limit, it's also not any concern to me. I'm just keen on anything has anything to do with shipment. That could be, for example, the blocking and the address. Then I can click on, click on this one and save that to my personal filters. So when I've done that, you see on the right side now, I have 2 personal filters and there's 4 global filters. If I close the page, open again, it will appear like I just have saved. And if I want to show all, I can go back and clear all filters, and I'll now see those which are personal have a light red color, those which are global have a dark red color. All right, I'll close the page again, reopen again, and I think I will go and clear my personal filter, so I can click here, and I can see I'm demo 1 actually. So if I want to delete that, I can click clear the filter to remove it from here, or I can totally delete the line by clicking on that line and it's gone. Close again, reopen, and we are back to the standard again. And to not confuse anything from a demo, I suggest that, of course, that on the way like I do, you keep on going back to the current settings, because it just makes everything easier next time you need to do a presentation in this demo data. All right, the next box, table field setup. What can I do here, let me click on the setup and explain one by one. Here, number one, you can see what is the current table number, what's the current field number. So we're looking at any settings for the payment terms code. So the first thing, I can see there's been an email notification. It's been activated. And I can see who's going to be notified, 2 users. So I can click who's the users. I can see that's TBC and MN. If there was a full name specified in user setup, it'll be specified here. The email, of course, need to be specified on the user setup, and they will be copied to here. And I will explain that in more detail shortly. But then also you can say, what kind of notification do you want to track? So for example, you want to track notifications for are they considered as a change? Or 2 hours. You can write 2 hours instead, like this, and it will be 2 hours. Oh, just go back to 15 minutes. And so the first 15 minutes is like a freehold where they can do whatever changes they want, which will not be notified. So also if you want notification to be sent straight away, immediately when the user make the change, you want to combine them into an hourly notification or a daily notification. And of course the cutoff then is at midnight, so it will be sent when we are shifting to a new date. If I want to look into more details, let's do that on the notification. I can actually go here and see I have some options actually. First of all, I can also decide here, is this an internal user, which is default, but it could also be an external user. Let's say, for example, if a shipment date change, maybe a customer wants to be notified, so or maybe you want to block an account, your auditor wants to be notified, then you can add external here and you can specify an external email address. You can also decide only to be notified if it changes to a specific value. For example, that you only want to be notified if, for example, on the customer here, that if it was changed to shipment block. If it's another blocking, you don't want to know about it and you don't care. So only if it's changed to shipped blocking, then you want to be notified. So then you add that here. You can also decide to restrict users. So that actually opens up a new, completely new feature also for you, that you actually can make field level security. So you can now restrict certain users from changing the fields. So for example, if you don't want, for example, this user SB, which has changed the payment terms, to not change, you can see we can add here SB Simona to not be able to make any changes to the payment terms anymore. Another option is to do permitted, if that's easier, if you have many you want to restrict. So instead of doing that, you can do the opposite. You can say who's allowed to make changes. So in this case, you have said these 2 users can make changes to the payment terms. If you click on permitted, of course, the restricted will be deactivated. It's not possible to have both active at the same time. And if you also noticed, the one you have activated here will be green. Now this one will be red because it's not working. And you click on this will be green, and the other one will be red. Last option below here, you can activate reason tracking. So if you want to know why did a user do something, you can say, I want to have them to specify a reason. The same thing also you can say if they change from blank, is that also considered as a change where you want to track the reason, yes or no? Default is no, but you can activate it here. So how does that work? Now we activated the reason. Let's go back and try to change the payment terms on this customer. So if I now go back and try to change to, for example, 30 days, as soon as I press tab and escape to save the record, it will now pop up straight away with this page and say, okay, payment terms. It has been changed from 21 days to 30 days. That's the new value. You have to specify a reason. Then you can write here, they paid me on $100, something. So you cannot make the change now without any reason. That's impossible. I press Alt C again. It could also be that you want to test the restriction. So let's try to do that. So if I now go to the setup again, I say I want to restrict. So I want to say who's now allowed to make the changes. So it could be that I want to say only MN is allowed to do, means not me. So I will delete myself. You want to delete that. So now it's only Morten who is allowed to do that. I'll put permitted, go back, and go back again. And now I want to change. And I also want to, because now, yeah, let's change to 30 days. Let's do that. And now say user demo is not permitted to make changes. And also, if you noticed, there was also activated reason code, but as I'm not allowed to make any changes, there's no point to ask me for a reason code, of course. So I can just go back and it's back to 21 days. So this is a really, really good feature. And by this feature, you now have field level security on all fields in Stellar Business Central. And a small note here, if you want to add any of the features here, you can actually insert one line of code in your own extension, and then that page will be supported with all 100% all the features you have seen or will see. So I'll just close this one again. And here actually you have now the quick overview to know, will anybody be notified? Yes, 2 users. You can of course click here to see who are the users. You can see users will be restricted, 1, user permitted, 1, and reason code is activated, and you can go to the setup. If anybody will be notified, it will actually be specified down here, so you can see who's been notified. I'll show you now an example of how such an email can look like. I have one here. So that's an example. So it will state in the top here, change log notification, and this was an hourly, set up as hourly notification, and it states here it's an automatic email. So it says in the company and the company where it comes from, following changes has been made, and it says on this purchase header, and of course you have a link. If you click on the link, it will straight away open up this document record inside Business Central. And it says the field expected receipt date was changed from the 12th of February to the 13th of February by the user, date and time. And also state here, you cannot reply to this notification and who provided it. All right, just a quick example of that. Let's proceed. Below you have a box also here showing you how many changes was made and by who. So on this specific customer, actually, you can see that Morten here made changes, Patrick, Simona, and Tools for PC made changes. And if you want to know specifically what did Simona do, you can then click here and it will be shown to you that he was the one changing payment terms twice. In this case, of course, it's very easy to see that because you have very few changes, but in another case, it's where many changes is of course very useful. And also to get a quick overview how many has actually worked on this record. You can also look further down and you see how many changes was there made to a specific field. For example, the payment terms 8 times, credit limit 1 time, block 4 times. I'll come back to the this fact box later. If for some reason you want to discuss something and you want to have a printout, of course you can make a screen dump. That's of course standard feature, but you actually still also have the function here to print. The nice here is with this print that it actually automatically picks up the filter which I just applied. So now the same will be printed as what I have on my page. And it will also show me like what's the customer, what's the table number, primary key values, all this information, and also other things like if I have any field filters on and global filters on, which is not shown here. Okay, let's try to go and have a look at sales order. So I will close that one, go back here now and go to a sales order. So sales orders, I will pick up this order. And of course of the header, I have a changelog. It's shown here. And another tip, which also I can show you to get a quick overview, I can recommend you search by the field number. That's a very, very simple, easy way to get a quick overview about what happened on this record. But on an order like this, you can also go to the line and you can see you have the changelog here. So I can also just press Alt-C, and as soon as I do that on the line, just have to go out of that edit mode. You can see now it opens up the changelog for the line. And again here, to get a quick overview, actually it is quite useful just to do the sorting here. So you can see how many times the quantity been changed, first from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 4. What else has been changed? Interesting. You can see the line discount from 0 to 5, 5 to 25. That could actually be one of the questions I'm concerned about. Say, why are there 25% discount? So if I go back to the changelog, I want to know, did the user do this themselves or did it come from the system? So I can see now that the line discount was here. And again, if I use my trace, I can see it came twice, first here with 5%, and then it came second time from 5 to 25. But if you look at the left side, I also have a change number. So I can see the first change, this line discount with 5% came as part of the change. Second change I made was changing the quantity. And same time, the line discount was added from 5 to 25. So it must have come from the setup. All right. And another thing I would like to show you here, maybe you don't know that, for example, here, maybe you're concerned saying this line, I think there was 2 lines on this order, and how many have actually worked on this order, I want to know. So when you press again the Alt-C, you can see both Navlogic and Tools4BC. 2 people actually worked on the order, number 1. And but if you also want to know the line, of course, I cannot stand on a line and search for a deleted line. That's impossible. But what I can do is I can go to my header here and look at related, and I can search from the header on all lines. If I do that, I'll get a filter on all lines, and that way I can search for anything that was deleted. So I can say, I want to know anything deleted. Yeah, it looks like that. And it looks like actually here you can see the this line was deleted, test of line that was deleted. In this case, you can see it also tracks some unnecessary information, maybe like line number, document number type, which I, by the way, anyway, cannot change anyway. So if I now click on hide that one, and I also don't want that one, I also don't want that one, it makes this view much easier. So I will now click here, save this global into my global filter, and it will update that. So next time I go, I do the same again, related on the lines, and I click on filter. I just want to see the deletion. I just have the deleted line here, and I can maybe consider if I want to hide the type as well, because it's not really important to me. If anybody changes the type, because then it will anyway reset the entire line. So, all right. Um, If I want to know, for example, on this one here, and now jump, no, I'll continue on my script. Let's go to the posted sales invoice. So if I go now to the posted sales invoice, I go here, posted sales invoice. And the problem with this could be that, let's say on this one, there was made some changes and I don't understand. For example, it could be on the line, why is there 20% discount? So usually we don't get 20% discount. Why is this? So I go to the line, press Alt C, and now I can see the changes which was done before the posting. And I can see actually the line discount, it has been here. I can use again my trace, and I can see Alt R actually also activated my trace if I wanted to avoid the menu. So I can see here it was first 15% and then it was added to 20% by Morten. He did that. So he's the user I have to talk to. Why did he do that? And of course, if I had the reason tracking, it would also state it here why he decided to give 5% additional discount to this client. It could also be that I would like to have a better control on my purchase handling. And some of the things that happen in my purchase department is, for example, that orders sometimes get delayed. And I have some salespeople that get quite annoyed about it because they would like to inform the customers, or it could be in a production company where the production manager needs to know because it's quite critical to know when their items get delivered. So if there's any delay, he or she would like to know. So how can you handle that? So if I look at this order here, for example, I could do that I activate my change log again. I can see there's no changes on this one. So I could, in this case, make a small change. So let's say this one get delayed, for example, to the 21st or 2nd or whatever of February, like that. Do you want to update the line? Yes. This one got delayed, and I have a delay here. And maybe I would like to be sure that the the sales department or the production get informed. So what can I do? I can click again on the setup here, and if I've not done any settings at all, the first thing I need to do is to click here, manage and new, to get a record. After that, I can say I would like to ensure that there's a notification happening, and I want maybe to make sure that the first 1 hour where the person do create this one is not considered any change. It's just part of the setup. But if there's any change after that, the people which need notification should be notified immediately. So let's say I go to the related button here and look at the notification setup. I can select a user. So let's say I take the tools user here. And it tells me now there's no email address. So let's see if I can go here and I can go to the tools. Is it possible for me to edit here? No, it's not. So in this case, I will just quickly have to go to the user setup to ensure I get that sorted. So here on my tools user, I will have to set up my email address. So in this say, I put the email address here. And yeah, that's it. Go back again. And I click again on my setup. I click on my names of the users I want to notify. I select my tools user. And now it allows me to insert this one, and I can now specify in 2 more fields here. I can decide if it should be all changes, or if it increase or decrease. So in this case, if they received the items earlier, I don't need to know, I don't want to know, it's just good news. But in this case, I only want to know if they're delayed. So in this I would say increase in this case. I could also specify if it's a change which changed to something specifically here. for example, if the order get blocked or something like that, then I can also be notified if I want that. Now I did it on the header level. I could of course have done that on the line level as well. So it means now the change has to be updated on the header. But in the case that I would like to have our users usually update also on the line level, because there's difference in when items get shipped line by line, then you could of course have activated the same thing on the lines. Of course, quite frustrating if then 50 lines is delayed, then you get 50 emails. So for that reason, you need to make sure that when you set this up, of course, that you have taken that into consideration as well. To avoid getting many emails in such a case, you could consolidate per hour. In that case, they'll just get one email later when all the changes, all the lines has been updated. All right, another thing you can do is you can do a search. So let's say I want to search for something. I can actually activate a search here on the top. Initially, the search will actually open up and specify the exact same thing as where I came from. So it will take the purchase header, it will take the document type 1, which was order, and will take this order number which I came from. Just to go back to verify that, you can see this was document type 1 and this order. So it automatically captures this information, and it also automatically make a search and show the same exact record as I was in. So how can I use that? I can use that, for example, if I want to know how many times, for example, get our expected receipt date changed, for example. So instead of just looking for this order, I can remove the order number, and I can say I want to specifically look for the expected receipt date, and I can add that and say I'm not keen on insert. The only thing I'm keen on is when it is modified. I can set a date filter if I want to do that, or a specific user if I want that, and also decide if I want to search only locally or remote. When does it make sense to uncheck remote? Well, in the case where I don't really need something which is old data, I just want to have, let's say, something within the last month, and usually only transfer to customers after 1 month for 30 days. Then there's no point to ask the system to search the entire customers. Even if it goes fast, it will still make maybe a slightly delay in this, and there's no, of course, point also challenging the entire internet for things which is useless or not important at all. So in this case, I will activate it because I'm not sure when I have the data. So I will click now find and see when there was a change. And in this case, apparently there was only one change for this. So let's try to do it again. I'll go to another order. So I will leave this one and go to this order, for example, and I will also change the expected receipt date here. So in this case, I will change it to just the 28th. In this month, same month, update the lines, yes, do that, please. And I'll try to do the same thing again. Take the change log, do the find, and it has 1. So I will again remove from here, select the expected receipt date. And of course, now also we have more data. Hopefully it will find more records. Now it finds 2. So we can now see that there's been changes on expected receipt dates 2 times. So that could be something you can use for statistic purpose also, or something else. How often does it happen before you set up an alert? And if you want to check something, you could also, for example, just click on this one and click show the record, and it will be able to open up that specific document where it has been changed. So example, if you don't want to set up alert, it could also be that the production manager himself just wants to go in and make the search, let's say on a weekly basis, just manually to check for the changes. Okay, another way it could be used, let's try to search for something else. It could be, for example, that I would like to know if any items has been created or any payment terms has been created, for example, on a sales order. So let's try to search for another table. In this case, let's start with the sales order and see how does that look. So if I take table 36, that's it. And I don't want to check the type actually. I don't care if it's a code or order or anything. I just want to know, or maybe I want to know. Then I can see, I can specify here and I can search. You can see for specific records. as well, or I can just select here, it should be a type 1, which is an order. Let's now pick the field, payment terms. Payment terms, it was here. So I want to know how often was that delayed, or sorry, changed on the sales orders. So click find, and I can see now it's been changing a lot of times. Some of the times I can see here it's also been changing from blank. So if I consider that part of the creation, then I could add a filter more here and say don't include those where it was blank first. Click again, and now I see it happens 4 times. I can also see who the user who do that is actually tools for BC who have done it all 4 times. And also count down here it was 4, and this user has done it 4 times. If I, for example, remove this one again and click the find, you will see before actually showed it was 6 time payment terms, and 2 times it has been WebLogic, and 4 times tool for BC. If you want to know or check this document, you can click show related record, and if it's still open, of course that's required, then you can click here and click show document and open up this order to inspect further. Another way it could be used, for example, let's say you've been on vacation for the person who is in charge of the inventory, and then when he or she comes back, you can select the inventory, say you don't care about any fields, you just want to know what has been modified since you went on leave. Let's say you did that 1st of January, and you can click now find, and will show you all the items that has all the changes been done to items. And if you sort again by field number here, it makes it quite easy to see what are the important changes. There's been changed something to description on item and description to on, actually in this case, the same item. So, and if I want to show that one, I can click show, manage, go to the item, and I can see the item card here. And of course, if I want to inspect all changes, I can check it here and see all that has been changed. In this case, you can also see there was no hidden fields. You can see that on the right side. So I will see a lot of things which maybe not as important at this point of time. So I could have activated here the hide and actually taken all this away. So I will only have seen description and description 2 and save that in my global filtering. All right, let's have a little bit of a look of how can I actually find number one. Where can I find the search? I can find it if I go to a place to where I need to search, like I did a changelog, but I can actually also find it in the menu here. So if I just click here, find, and you can see now change. If I did that, changelog, it will say here find changelog entries. So that's also a way to call this search feature. Now I would like to go to the setup and log, and I can see I have some setup here, and I have the standard changelog setup and the advanced changelog setup. If I go to the advanced, here I can see a lot of things actually. I can see number one, how many records I have in my local database, how many changelog entries. When the last update was done, means refresh, that's for calculation. And the reason why it's not instantly updated, because if you need to track, for example, how many records is on Cosmos, how many, it will take some time, and there's no point to do that if the user don't want to wait for it, or it has been done already within a short period of time. So here we can see the oldest data created in the changelog, the latest newest data created, and we have also a time lapse for change number. That's how many seconds we expect that will go between when a change is considered as part of one change. That was when you saw it on the changes here. Let's try to go and look at it just to double confirm that. If I click change here, you can see it says 1 change, 3, 5, and the reason why it jumps, by the way, here right now is because we have hidden some records. So if I just click clear the filter, we will see change number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is all the changes Some have the same number as here because they've done part of the same action. For example, in this case, the user changed the payment terms ID, and then last modified date was also updated, last modified date time was updated in the same change. But as there's no really way to know when a change was part of another change, we had to determine it somehow. And right now we have decided that it should be 60 seconds. If you don't agree to that, it can of course be changed. Change log advanced setup here. So here you can play around with it. So if you think that's too long, you can shorten it down. If you think it's too much or too little, you can increase, of course, here. Below, we have the remote database, which is to Cosmos. And just to make that clear, what that is, you can look up the internet here and search for the Microsoft Azure Cosmos database. And here you will be able to see some description of this database, what it is, how does it work, a technical description, for example, or you can go to some more illustrative description. Oh, not that one. That's a bad example. Let's check this one. There's some more graphical illustration of how this actually works, which you can have a closer look into. This was in Danish. But this is a database where we can transfer the data if you want to do that. And the only thing you need to do, you can say you need to activate it here. And you also need to get a URL. And so if you want to activate this yourself, you will have to call us to get this URL and a password provided. And then we will be able to, you'll be able to transfer to the Cosmos. So after you have got this from us, then you can activate it here and it will be able to, as you can see here, automatically transfer, and have now transferred this amount of records. Last upload when it was done. And if there's currently anyone pending, so you can say, why can it be there should be anything pending in this case? Well, it could be I have deactivated it, of course, that's one way. Another way is that maybe I've changed the time span down here because maybe I don't want to have 90 days, I want to change it to, for example, 80 days. Then the 10 days, which of course has not been transferred, will suddenly have to be transferred. Another reason could be that I have a job queue running and I have decided that it should, for example, not run during working hours. So in this case, for example, if I don't want it to run from between only after working hours, I could have decided to add a start time and an end time here, which I didn't in this case, but else that could be another reason. Or don't run on specific days. All right, or of course put on hold the job. This is the standard job queue, which you of course is familiarized with, which are going to do the transfer. Below you have like how many entries you want to transfer at the same time. For some reason, the Cosmos has a maximum of 1,000, so you can maximum enter 1,000 in this field actually. Transfer system tables, maybe you don't want to do that, but this means if you want to transfer everything above the 2 million billion number there. So if you want to transfer any of those change logs, which contains, for example, user information, permission information, if you do not want to include that, you just deactivate it here and it will not be transferred. Also here you can decide if you want to delete local data. You say default it's on, because it don't make any sense to transfer to Cosmos if you don't want to delete it, because you want to usually save space. That's why you want to activate it and have it. There could be maybe other reasons. But for example, for test purpose, if you just want to test it out for a period, you can say I want to have the Cosmos set up, but I don't want to delete my local data. Then you could deactivate it. Then of course no data will be deleted. Later, if you're happy, satisfied with it, you can go back, deactivate this delete, and then the system will automatically check again all entries, have they been deleted, yes or no. If not, then it will start and transfer all those which was not deleted to the customers and delete them. Check if they were transferred, sorry, and then delete them. You have another option over here, show advanced changelog on page. If for some reason you don't want to show the customers on the page to the users because you just don't want to have it for whatever reason, you can deactivate it here and say don't show it for this moment. You don't want that, and only when you need it, it's available as an option. All right, those fields, like I said here, for example, the last upload and this how many has been updated and the duration for the remaining, it will only be calculated when you click here. So after clicking here, say will you calculate, click yes, and it will update. You can see we specify the fields here which will be updated. All right, under here we have something, but it's actually all stated over here. So in the standard, in this setup here, we have the standard setup. So why should you want to go here? Maybe you want to go and see if it's actually running. We have the table setup, which of course I have on your other page also, where you can go in and start to do manually the settings if you want to do that. We also have a wizard for it, but that's of course your own choice. And here we have added number of fields. You can see here transfer remote. So for example, you can now also specify if you do not want to transfer some of other tables remote. For example, if you do not want to transfer any GL accounts, you could have deactivated that, or customers to the customers for whatever reason. Maybe because you want, for example, one reason could be that you after a period of time want to delete them anyway. So no point transferring them, you want to delete them, and then you can just don't transfer them. It also shows you have to exist any changelogs, which is very nice. So it's easy for you to have a look here. Unfortunately, you cannot filter on that, but at least you can see it if there are changelog. You also have the date from the last changelog and the date from the first and the last. And again, here you cannot filter. That's how Microsoft did it on this type of fields, unfortunately. On this line, you will also have a number of options here. You will have the options here to see the changelog for the table and for the setup. So for some reason you want to know, for example, what are all the changes there was for, what could we pick here? Something interesting. It could be, for example, this case, vendor ledger entries, yeah. So if you want to know that, I can click here and I can say I want to know what are the records for that table. So I will show the changelog entries for that table. So there's only one record that was modified. Yeah, you can see that. And we have the old value and the new value. You'll also see the changelog here for, and I can just keep the needle on here to avoid all the double clicking. You can also see what are the changes to the settings on this one. And there was no change, means it must have been from the initial stage. But if I click on that one instead and look at the setup, I can see what are the changes that have been done to the setup on this specific table. Means when was the lock insertion, when was that activated? The deletion, when was that activated, for example? I can see that here. All right. And I have some other things here. I can activate the transfer on all if I want to do that. I can also mark some. So if I want to have a few, I can mark them like this and say those should be marked to be transferred. The same option, just opposite. I can say deactivate all or deactivate those I've marked. I also have clear, where I can clear all settings, means all the settings for insert, delete, and modify if I want to do that, and add default settings on all coming from tools for PC for the PC X-Ray, or add the default settings on those which do not have any settings. Means anything that's been specified, anything in the 3 fields, nothing will happen to that, but the rest it will add all the default settings. And because there's around 1,300 tables roughly, and you have to make decision in 3 fields, that can be quite annoying. And you can say, what is the issue with activating this? We'll only activate where it makes sense. And if, let's say, it also activate in a service module and the customer don't use the service module, you don't need to worry about that because there will not be created any change logs at all anyway. All right. And here we have the table field set up for that table. Here you can see what if there's been specified anything for that table for anywhere in the system, means any notification, any restriction, anything on the table on field level, none. But for example, if I now went to the purchase table, to have a look at that. So if I went to table 38 and I did the same thing here, so there's been anything set up, we can see we actually did set up on field number 21, which was here now the expected receipt date, and we can also see the field here and what has happened to that one in terms of setup. That's specified here, that we want to have an email notification. And table field setup here, that's where you can see if for that applies for all tables, so you don't have to look through table by table. Here you can see all in one view. All right, let's go back. So the table field setup, you also have activate. You can action, sorry, an option to see it from here. The field setup you also have here, say which of the field has been hidden. So you can see in global filters or user filters are specified here, and you can change or delete or add as you like. And you can see this one, for example, that one you can copy to a global filter. Now there's already a global filter, so it don't make any sense, but else you'll be able to click on this one and copy those settings which was on this user directly to a new global filter that applies to all users. So if you want to test it out yourself first, then create it on your own user. If you're really happy with it, after that, just click here, copy, and all this will be transferred to the global user. Oh, sorry, that was it. Let's go back. Factbox visibility. If for some reason you don't want to show the hidden fields to the user, they shouldn't see that, then you can deactivate that factbox from here. Or you don't want to show what are the people who got the email notifications to everybody, you can remove it from here. User setup. This is where you specify this moment at the users who should be able to add the global filters. So the users which are here at this moment has been selected to be able to do that. Advanced, sorry, the assisted setup. If you go in here, we have a guide where you go through the entire setup, and when you want to activate, it'll also say here what you want. You want to clear, you want to add default on all, you want to add only on those which has not been specified. Bang, next, 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 and it's all done. If you want to set up Cosmos, we also have a guide for that. But still, as I mentioned before, you will still have to contact us and request for a Azure database. Then we'll set up the database, the store procedures, all which are needed, and provide your password. Yes, that's about it actually. So I hope you enjoyed all the features and will be able to present this to your potential customers. Last thing I maybe should mention also, please remember one thing is this product have two angles. One thing is for the client, but as important or maybe even more important, also for you in support cases where the customer call you and say, For example, they have not changed the payment terms on this customer. There must be some code or some development or maybe some import or something that has done that. Then it's a really, really good and fast insight for you to make sure you can answer the client well and have documentation for that as well. All right, thank you very much.